verse. I just thought I'd make another video today. It's dealing with Matthew chapter 24 and verse 45 to verse 50. It's dealing with the evil slave, or the faithful and discreet slave. I like to call it the evil and indiscreet slave. So who really is the faithful and discreet slave, whom his master appointed over his domestics to give them their food at the proper time? Happy is that slave if his master on arriving finds him doing so. Truly I say to you, he will appoint him over all his belongings. I'm getting this from the New World Translation. And he says, but if ever that evil slave should say in his heart, my master is delaying, and should start to beat his fellow slaves, and should eat and drink with the confirmed drunkards, the master will come on a day that he does not expect, and an hour that he does not know, and will punish him with the greatest of severity. ... So who can you think of that has good reason to say that my master is delaying? Well, would this not most certainly fit the Watchtower Society? They've been expecting the end to come every year now for over 100 years. I'm sure you can think of many dates that have failed in the past. 1914, 1918, 1920, the 1940s, it was just around the corners. And then, of course, 1975, the big debacle there, where it was at least strongly implied in the magazines that it would come. And, of course, more was said than was actually printed. It makes me think of Luke chapter 21 and verse 8. He said, look out that you are not misled, for many will come on the basis of my name, saying, I am he, and the due time has approached. Do not go after them. Well, that certainly fits, doesn't it? The end of the system is always just around the corner. I know when I was a kid, Elder came up to me and said, hey Art, don't worry about it. You won't even have to worry about finishing high school. The end is just around the corner. It'll be here. You won't have to worry about working or getting an education or raising a family or doing any of those things, because the end is so close. And that was like almost 40 years ago. Certainly that fits the Watchtower. And then he goes on, and he should start to beat his fellow slaves, the evil slave. Well, who beats their fellow slaves? There are many examples of people being disfellowshipped on this YouTube channels. Young women are being raped and get disfellowshipped for it. Children are sexually abused and they don't do anything. People being disfellowshipped for disagreeing on just a single point of doctrine. You know, put up your hand in the meeting and say, well, I don't think the 144,000 is a literal number, and see what happens to you. You would at least be strongly marginalized. People no longer associate with family and friends. They've had their everything torn away from them. Parents and children don't talk. Grandparents have never seen their grandchildren, just simply because they have a difference of opinion. And I'm sure you have knowledge of your own too. You think about your own personal experiences of different things that have happened in your own life that you could relate to. And it makes me think of Psalm 144:6 and verse 3. It says, do not put your trust in nobles, nor in the son of earthling man, to whom no salvation belongs. And that's a good one that I thought of after getting out of the Watchtower Society, is that's just exactly what happened. Is you're putting your trust in people, and you can't do that. You have to put that trust in your God, however you perceive him to be. Just to give a personal experience here, an example my dad used to tell me about. This happened back in the 1960s. There was a fellow named Leo. He was a missionary for a while. He came back to the Kootenays. He was a congregational overseer for a while. Due to different stresses in his life, he became a drinker. And he went into this deal with some friends back at this time. They bought a camera, and they were going to be street photographers or something. For at some point, the camera goes missing. So anyways, Leo gets blamed for it. They thought he sold it for booze. He ends up getting disfellowship with no real answer. Nobody really knew what happened to the thing. So this guy's alienated from his friends and family. Character assassination, really. And eventually the poor guy dies on a bus. That's just one example. So does the Watchtower beat their slaves? Well, you're damn right they do.